Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Night with the Dark Knight, the show that takes a look at Batman through the ages, for better or for worse.
With your dynamic duo, Aidan Gula.
And me, George Ellis.
And tonight, we will be talking ZACK SNYDER'S Justice League.
Yeah. Well, this show is one I'm helming, so I'm going to be talking more than Aidan, so get used to that, everyone. This is a little spin-off show because we thought with the amount of times I mentioned Batman in EDW, Exterminating Doctor Who, it was only fair that I get to demonstrate my knowledge.
It was like the teased series arc, wasn't it? The amount of times Batman is mentioned on our Doctor Who podcast, it's like, we should probably turn the tables and let you talk Batman.
Yeah, because otherwise we'll do series 2 of EDW and it would just be me talking about Batman, and we got to get this out of my system. We just have to. So and this week, as Aidan has said, we're talking about ZACK SNYDER'S Justice League. We thought it'd be a good one to start with.
It's quite current, by which I mean it's been out for 3 months. But
it's this year, so that's more current than most stuff we do.
It's the latest Batman stuff.
It is.
Well,
besides the animation that came out today.
Well, I was going to say besides the recent debate about Batman's endeavors with Catwoman, but that's not getting its own episode.
If you know about this debate, you'll know what we're talking about. If you don't,
it's probably best you don't. Yeah.
Yes. But no, ZACK SNYDER'S Justice League. Okay, initial thoughts. What did you think of ZACK?
Right. So you know that I was very resistant to watching this. If it wasn't for this podcast, I would not have watched it.
I'm abusing my power here. That's what's happening.
I would put it on with the full 4 hours or 8 hours, as the Amazon Prime one actually was, because then it goes. I think the second half is black and white. Or something.
I know. I left it playing in the credits, and it just went into the black and white version. I was like, this is new.
That went on Prime, and I was like, 8 hours. I don't know. Oh, God. Then I read it. Yeah. If it wasn't this podcast, I wouldn't have watched it. Am I glad I did? Do I regret the purchase? No. Would I watch it again? Maybe. Not yes, but maybe. Did I enjoy? Overall? Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. Do I have some major gaping holes and or most of my notes negative? Yes.
Okay. Well. Right, before we get into dissecting this big chunk of DC media, what got you into DC? And if you can focus it to Batman, because obviously this show is about the man himself.
Yeah, it's a good place to start, because as we did on Exterminating Doctor Who, it's very much just nice to know who we are, and how we got here. I don't really know if I have an earliest memory of Batman. But if I had to take a guess at what it would be, is probably Michael Keaton's Batman. And it will be an introduction. It won't be something my mum's into. Mum would have got me into Doctor Who. Then Dad would have gone, here's Batman. He kills people. At least I think Michael Keaton does, doesn't he? So,
mass murderer. But we love him.
So I think that is like the earliest thing I can remember. I had a million Batman toys. I never really remember how I got into comic books. I know how I got into Marvel via a sticker book, because I'm very much more of a Marvel guy.
Yeah. It is, out of all the things, it's like your weakest attribute, to be honest, but we work past.
Well, you used to say that about the fact I watch Coronation Street. So
what? I've forgotten about that. That's
I don't anymore. So
Jesus.
No, I don't know what my earliest memory of Batman is, but as if I had to really think about it, it'd probably be Keaton, Dark Knight, and 66. The movie 66. They seem to be like what my dad would have gone. Here's what I liked when I was not your age, because I'd have been like 5, but you know what I mean.
I'm exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same, but that kind of thing. Like, for me, I was about to say I'm George Ellis. You know I am. If you're here, you should have seen EDW. If not, go give it a listen. But what got me into Batman? Like my earliest memory could have been something else, but it was probably the Batman the Animated Series, or actually Batman 1966 movie. I do have a weird kind of memory of seeing that probably before most other stuff, because I think it was probably just on TV and I would have watched it. But for me, it's like my early memories are 1989, Michael Keaton's Batman, classic. That kind of springboarded me into the darker world of Batman. And then you've got Batman the Animated Series, and then you've got the comics, which kind of followed. And I've got some terrible comics, because the problem is when I got into DC Comics, it wasn't really Golden Age or Silver Age. It was just that weird middling period between modern era and that classic era. So it's just kind of
they're just
not the best.
happening.
Yeah, not the best comics, but I liked them, and that got me really kind of into Batman. And from there forward, I played loads of Batman games, and then watched more Batman stuff, read more Batman stuff, and then now my whole personality is
Batman.
sprinkling of
when I first
other stuff.
Obviously, I obviously first met you in university because I was in your group for a film, but I didn't really know you. I was just in your group making a film anyway. So then a mutual friend of ours was then saw you in the student union bar, and she said to me the next day, she's going, "Oh, I met George last night. He's in your film group." And I was like, "George, which one's George?" I said, "You know, she described you as the one with the lightest hair of the three," I think is what she said. And
Bit
I was
normal.
going, "Oh, okay." And then I was just like, "Okay." And then the first thing she said about you was massive Batman fan. It was like she was like, "God, he talked about Batman that night." So that's my real introduction to you as a person.
Is Batman, yeah? Because during that night, what happened was, I do bring up Batman a lot. I try not to, but if someone else brings up Batman, it's just like a
pull up a chair.
It's like I'm just gone. So that's basically Aiden's first introduction to me as a person is Batman.
Is Batman, yeah.
So yeah.
So this from that day, this podcast was inevitable, wasn't it?
Oh yes, well, it had to happen. But do you have like a favorite iteration of Batman? I think that will encompass your.
It's actually right. This was quite interesting. Watching this last night, ZACK SNYDER'S Justice League, which I watched in one go, which I really didn't intend on doing. Because I have the shortest attention span in the world, I expected to divide this across 4 days. Like
I know. I am astonished you managed to watch all of it.
I fully expect to do it across 4 days, but it was just kind of, I think the fact it's in parts, which I mean, I'll just say this now, but I do think the fact it's in parts really helps. Because if it wasn't, you'd just be like, my God, how long have I been here? I've had a divorce. I've got a beard. You'd be like, oh, I've been here for years. But the fact it's in parts makes you feel like, oh, I can have a breath now. Like at one point I did pause it and had like a half an hour break, but it was like, it's like, oh, we're at the end of part 1 now. And you could kind of judge them by sections in a way. Like part 1, I really, really, really enjoyed. And then it fell apart in the middle.
We'll get into that.
But when I was watching it, I was watching Ben Affleck, because I love Ben Affleck as an actor anyway, and as a guy. And I was thinking, I really wish you didn't kill people in BVS, because you would be my number 1 Batman. And I'd probably actually say he is my number 1 Batman, but I just have to take the murdering aspect as just a part of his Batman and just like get over it. So really, if somebody said, who do you think is the best live action Batman, for example, because otherwise if they said who's the best Batman with a voice, I'd say, well, it's obviously Kevin Conroy, isn't it?
Obviously,
nobody's going to compete. So that's the default answer. But if somebody said, who's your best live action Batman, which is what I'm understanding your question to be, I would probably go, I mean, it's Affleck if he didn't kill, but the one I have a real soft spot for, if my background is allowing and it's not being cut off, is Adam West, just because I love retro. But then also Keaton has that same thing to me, but I've not rewatched those films. I've not rewatched those films in years, but I bet if I watched those 2 films now, I'd go, Keaton's my number 1. So I don't know. If you ask me who's my best Batman, I'm going to be like, well, it's sort of split across 3 different people for different reasons. Because I love retro, but I love Ben Affleck, but also Keaton has a cool card on it.
Well,
so
that's the thing. The thing about Batman's, which is nice, is you can say basically any of them are your favorite, and it's like besides the live action ones.
Besides George Clooney.
Well, I'm gonna have don't bring that. That's a flashback to something I've repressed. But most Batman's live action ones, they're good. So you can say they're your favorite, which is fair enough.
It's not like when we do our Doctor Who podcast and it's like I can do my definitive Doctor Who ranking, and I have done. I can do that very much because I can say these are very good, but it's all very much one incarnation with developments, isn't it? So you could say this did this better than this person because it's one continuity. The difference with Batman is that, I mean, Mark Ruffalo once said, right? Mark Ruffalo once said about Hulk that it's the character that everyone in his generation will get to play at some point. And I remember thinking, but there's only been like, I remember thinking, there's only been like 3 Hulks in total. I thought, if anything, it's Batman, because the amount of Batmans that we've gone through is astonishing.
We're churning them out. It's like he hasn't even been around for 100 years yet, and we are churning out Batmans like.
I mean, really,
their dying breed.
If you think about it, at the moment in contemporary Hollywood, we have 3 Batmen at the moment. Like, what?
Like, it's very much the idea of James Bond kind of thing. Like, each generation gets one, but now it's kind of like Batman is every 2 years.
Even with James Bond, I'd say that's I can rank that a bit more like the Doctor, because the first like 3 or 4 James Bond are supposed to be the same character, even though like the ages go back and forth. A lot of it's supposed to be like he goes to the graves of people in previous films from other James Bond. It's supposed to be the same guy.
Yeah.
So I can still do that, and they've all got more sequels. The thing about Batman is they don't really get that many sequels. Like, I mean, at this point,
I think it's the idea that
isn't Christian Bale like the one with the most films at the moment with only 3?
Yeah, no, I think I think I'm gotta rack my brain. You're pretty sure you're correct, but I think the reason is because like why you can't split them up is because it was all kind of like you had Adam West and then Michael Keaton and then the animated series, like in such a short span of just growing up, like just before we were born and then as we were growing up.
And they're all entirely different. So it's not like I could be like, well, I like it because it's like I said, I love Ben Affleck. And when I was watching this yesterday and he's jumping off things, he does the full cape thing, he's throwing batarangs around and he's doing the grapple hook and everything. And I'm going, I love this Batman. But then I remembered, oh yeah, but he did kill people, didn't he?
It's I want to get into that like it's such a.
But then again, it's something that I will just take as just this version of Batman. For example, in Justice League as well, just before I let you then say who your favorite Batman is, because I realize I'm rambling a bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut all of these.
I know it's your podcast. I'm like blah 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 blah.
So, Aiden, who's your favorite Batman? Michael Keaton. That'll be it.
Yeah. But it's like in this film as well. There's like there's a bit when Wonder Woman kills people, and there's like blood splatting up against the walls and stuff. And I'm thinking, right, I don't really think this is very Wonder Woman. Do I want this in Wonder Woman films or Wonder Woman comics or Wonder Woman animated stuff? No, I don't. But for this film, sure, go for it. Go crazy. Anyway.
Yes. For me.
At praise who?
Thank you. Macaroni. My favorite Batman is probably okay. If we go live action, because I've thought about this a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Because if you said, I assumed you were going to say Kevin Conroy then as your favorite, but it's like the default answer for all of them, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, for that, I can add a bit of a combat for that. But for live action, I will say I'm gonna pick one. I have to. Michael Keaton has such a special place in my heart for being the Batman that kind of springboarded me into the proper world of Batman. Like Adam West, beautiful and amazing, but probably one of not the best interpretation of the character Batman, but for the time necessary.
As Batman, because I was saying this earlier, I think if you had to make an argument for who is the biggest character in pop culture, I would argue it is Batman.
Well, I did my EPQ on Batman, and I've argued that is the case.
Yeah, so that I was saying this earlier, and I think Adam West's Batman kind of sums that up rather than the character of Batman. Yes. He's the iconography rather than the character.
Because with Adam West, everything that makes Batman is there, but it's just the fact the plots aren't daring enough. It's very interesting. Like the Batmobile's there. The fact he doesn't kill is there, and is a vital part of the character. Robin's there. The Batcave, Alfred, like everything that makes Batman is there, and his beliefs and all that is there, but it's just light-hearted, and that's kind of where it has that misstep for me when it comes to being the Batman. But it's very it's integral to the character and the way it kind of evolves. And for me, that kind of leads into Michael Keaton's Batman. The way Tim Burton created a world which was a darker version of Batman, and without that, we wouldn't have any of the Batman we have today. It brought the character back to its roots of being a traumatized child who is fighting criminals because he doesn't want anyone else to feel that pain. Mind you, kind of loses it because he kills people, so they do feel the pain. But that is a misstep of Michael Keaton's Batman, the killing. It's in any medium, Batman killing is such a misstep. It is, for me, it's vital Batman doesn't kill, because otherwise
I have a strong feel, like on our Exterminate Doctor Who podcast, where the common theme that most conversations came back to was always the timeless child, or the Doctor being a Time Lord and that kind of thing. But most of our conversations came back to that.
Yeah.
I have a strong feeling that across this podcast, that our version of that for this is going to be Batman not killing.
Yes.
I have a very strong feeling.
I agree. We've discussed the fact you might be able to see the future before, and I think you've done it again here. But it's just, I can't. Having Batman kill. Part of Batman's being Batman is the fact he does it so no one else feels the pain he felt. And if he kills someone, scum. He said, this is a quote from Batman: "Scum have families." If he kills this criminal, the kid will just grow up and then become a criminal. It's just a cycle of violence. And if Batman doesn't kill, he stops that cycle. If he does kill, he's just keeping it going. But I will say here, it doesn't mean I can't enjoy the way the character is done in the other. You know what I mean? Like, if that one, like, it's vital, and I think without it, it does make a character, it does bring the character down, but I won't tarnish the rest of the portrayal just because of that. For example, Michael Keaton's Batman, everything else is perfect. The setting, the car, God, I love the car. The suit, Michael Keaton, I love him. He's amazing. The Joker, like the city itself being a whole character, it's all the vital springboard for Batman becoming what he does become, but it just has that one misstep. So I will say, for live action, it will have to be Michael Keaton for me. But for animation, Kevin Conroy is impeccable, hands down. And Kevin Conroy's Batman and that whole animated series is so heavily based off Michael Keaton's, Tim Burton's Batman. But he doesn't kill. And then everything just falls into place. It fixes any mistakes, and it is, if you take one thing away from listening to me and Aiden just blab on about Batman, it will be just watch an episode of the animated series, because it is the perfect version of Batman, I think. The animated series, not the New Adventures of Batman, because that makes a couple of missteps, but the animated series, the 3 seasons, perfect. But my favorite animation film is Batman Under the Red Hood. Sorry, we'll stop there.
Yes.
So Zack Snyder's,
No, I think I'm doing the same thing. It's very much it's a complex issue, but if you really held a gun to my head and said, pick a Batman, I'd go Michael Keaton.
Yeah, same. But that's basically who are Batmans and what goes into Batman. And we both obviously said not Michael Keaton. Kevin Conroy's the animation favorite. And
yeah. If you just said pick a Batman, then it's Kevin Conroy, obviously.
Yes.
But if you went like live action Batman, I'd go, all right.
For like I feel like we have to split that that up, because otherwise a lot of our listeners might not know of the animations or just didn't give the animations a chance. So you got to say live action. But
Justice League.
That's it. Completely forgot what we watched. But no, Justice League. That is what this episode is about. Aiden thought it was okay.
Think of this, as we always do on the Doctor Who podcast, is we cannot do anything chronologically. It just never happens.
No, we've given up on that.
But I have 4 pages of notes. So it is a bit like, where do you want to start with this? Do you want to, as it is a Batman podcast, do you want to begin with Batman and go from there? Or do you just want to generally say what you thought of it? Because I've said what I thought of it. Or do you just want to say...
Okay.
And about the release about actually getting the Snyder Cut. They were not allowed to call it that anymore. But...
Are we not?
No, it has to be Zack Snyder's Justice League. The
very
first.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. Well, just quite a quick bit of background for the audience here, or two of them. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Oh, initially in 2017, Justice League came out, just normal feature-length film, which was initially directed by Zack Snyder, but then during filming, complications arose for Zack Snyder, so we had to step away from the film. So Warner Brothers and DC brought in Joss Whedon, who then did his version of the film, which required a lot of reshoots and a lot of stuff I disagree with. And this
thing is that I find really strange about that is if you just say that sentence on its own, like Zack Snyder had to step away, your sort of personal reasons about his daughter killing herself and all that kind of stuff. But when you say they brought in Joss Whedon, now on paper you should go, great choice. Do you know what I mean?
Think that, but then you look at he made Avengers, which I find they're very different.
But that was the thing at the time. I remember the news saying it's going to be Joss Whedon. I remember going, "Oh, good choice. He did the Avengers. He could do a team-up movie." Yeah, but he did a team-up movie for Marvel,
which is
and they're wildly different. They're wildly different.
And so I at the time I was like, Joss Whedon, let's see where this goes. But then the film comes out, it's a mess. The problem is with, I'd say, Joss Whedon's version is the fact he tries to lighten everything. Like he tries to add humor where there isn't. The film itself it feels like DC trying to be Marvel more than anything. That's the problem with it, I think. The main problem. And this is evident in such minor things as the color grade, for example. Like Justice League's color grade, the original version in 2017, it's so bright to the point where Batman almost looks like he's wearing his blue suit. And the themes and the music's done by Danny Elfman, and that's a completely different era for Batman. And it's trying to be this triumphant orchestral thing, and it just doesn't fit for the theme that Zack Snyder has set up in Justice.
I remember when I watched it originally, and I didn't come away from it going, "Oh, that was terrible." I came away from it going, "That was okay." Like, I remember my initial reaction was fairly positive to it because I think things like that, when he's running along those rooftops and there's the theme playing, I was kind of like, I really enjoy this. But it's one of those things when you think about it, it's like, well, that's not right. Like, it's the wrong Batman.
I exactly the same. When I first saw that scene in the original cut, it was nice to see Batman doing this Batman stuff and then the theme kicking in. I was like, this is bringing me back to my childhood. But then the moment you think about, should this be here? And it's like, this scene shouldn't be here, and this music choice doesn't fit for this version of Batman at all. Am I just talking to Robin here and Batman? Hello.
I was turning down my radio.
Ninja vanished. But fundamentally, I believe Joss Whedon's version was a good attempt, but in hindsight, it doesn't work at all.
No.
And this version of Justice League, Zack Snyder's version, was a recut. Not a recut. It was basically, what happened is when Justice League came out, we were annoyed that it wasn't very good, and we were looking for reasons as to why. And the main reason was Zack Snyder didn't helm it. It wasn't really his vision because he had built up the DCEU before, like he'd done most of the films beforehand. So it's like, it's his vision. We need to see it finished. So after enough screaming, eventually DC and Warner Brothers were like, all right, here you go, shut up. Then they let Zack Snyder finish it, and we got a 4-hour version of a 1.5 hour film.
Yeah, because I remember it was one of those things where, I mean, I was never bothered about it. Whenever it was released, the Snyder Cut, I was like, do we really want that? Like, really? And then I thought also when it was then finally announced that we were getting it, and I remember telling you, we're getting the Snyder Cut, and I remember you were like, wait, what? It's actually happening. Because for years it was rumored, like, people would say it exists. Then other people would go, no, it doesn't exist. Like, it would be like, some people reckoned there were these just piles of footage somewhere, but other people thought it's probably just storyboards, isn't it? And it was never filmed. And then it was proved, yeah, a lot of it was filmed. Because as we watched as I saw in this, a lot of stuff, I was like, what did they cut that out for? For example, I'll just say this now, but seeing it when Wonder Woman does the whole thing in the bank, and then there's the bit where at the end of that scene where the little girl goes, I want to be like you one day. I really loved that scene. That was from the original.
Yep.
Because they can't reshoot that because that girl would have grown up now.
Exactly.
Why would you cut that? Of all scenes to be a no-brainer to keep in, that seems like one of them.
No. But I think, Hayden, it was better to add CGI mustached Superman in for no reason at all. Do you remember that? That just hit me. But Jason Momoa, actually, I remember in an interview recently, he said he did no reshoots. So that already puts in perspective how much of the film was just there. The reshoots came from Joss Whedon's version, and the reshoots were they were the problem. But
yeah.
no.
But I do remember thinking I had mixed feelings when it was announced because there was a lot of kind of, as you get with any fandom, there's a lot of toxicity and vitriol that you get.
I think with comic book fans, you get that a lot more than
and it felt like there was a part of it felt like when they said you get in the Snyder Cut, it felt like that kind of side of the fan base had been rewarded. Because there's a lot of people are going, well, I hate this, blah, 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 Snyder Cut, and it felt like the real toxic side. They're going, all right, have it then. I remember thinking, But then also the positivity that has surrounded it since, and the most of like money that has been made from it, I believe, has been donated to like suicide charities anyway. When that, and a suicide charity that was chosen by the fans, it's very much like, okay, no, there's actually the positive side that wanted the Snyder Cut has outweighed those.
Yes.
That side now. So having, and also something, probably the best thing about it, to be honest, is that even whether you like Zack Snyder as a director or not, I don't particularly rate him as a director, but whether or not you do or not, it is nice just to have somebody to just have a complete passion project. Like this is very much just Snyder through and through.
This is what I like to say about this. I'm exactly the same. No matter what you think of this as a concept being created or whatever, I think it's absolutely wonderful that Zack Snyder got to finish his vision and just got to create it and just say, this is what I wanted for it. This is what it was. And I think the vocal fans, yes, some of them are a bit dicky, but having that kind of motion happen, I think is really wonderful. And I think all of this is embodied in the fact at the end of the film it says for autumn. He dedicates the film to his daughter, and that is wonderful. And I think that's made this the uproar and all that kind of stuff. No matter what, it's made it worth it.
Yeah, I agree. Because it was a lot like he's kind of, because he teased the past few years. What is that weird social media that Zack Snyder uses? Do you know what it's called?
Oh, I know exactly. I don't know what it's called, but I know what it is.
He doesn't use ones that everybody else uses. He does this random social media, and he teased for years images from the Snyder Cut. I think they're always in black and white, weren't they? Always like, here's an image from this, and people always go, oh, why did we never get that? So it felt like he was always teasing this thing that we could have had. Then he's shown us the thing that we've now got, and it very much feels like this is Zack Snyder going, okay, I'm done with DC now. That's that. I've expelled that from my system. Everything that I was always like, I could have done this. And it feels a lot like he's kind of gone, that's behind me now. And I quite like that.
Imagine it from Zack Snyder's point of view. He would have watched Joss Whedon's Justice League and been like, that's new. Why didn't you use this instead? Like for him, he would have been able to see, he would have known exactly how to fix a problem that was whether or not it was fixed. But you know what I mean? He would have seen his own work be kind of torn apart in a sense, because it's not like it was the same footage. Like I would fundamentally say Justice League 2017 is a different film.
The nickname that is given is Justice League. Shall we call it that for argument's sake? So we're not just going. So we're not going Justice League. I mean, this version of Justice League. We'll say Justice League.
Justice League. And Justice League is a very different film to this one. It is. They are just. They share scenes, but I'd say they are fundamentally different. And
but also like Warner Brothers are saying that one is canon, but the Snyder Cut is fundamentally not canon. But I think there's kind of a few things that I think, what's the difference? Like
the story is the same though.
There's not really much in this besides Darkseid, which I suppose does fundamentally kind of change a lot of things. But besides that, there's not that much that it's like, if you just did this in a film anyway, it wouldn't be like, hey, what? Do you know what I mean?
I feel like I get exactly what you're saying, but I feel like with the two versions, everything that surrounds the plot is very different in Zack Snyder's version. and it elevates the plot. But I think not Justice League, DC could pick either version and go, they're canon, because the only continuing difference is Darkseid, and even so, Darkseid was still the looming force in the background in the original. So you can still just have him be in the next one or whatever follows.
Yeah, with that, when they were going on about this anti-life equation, whatever the hell that meant.
Anti-life equation is...
There was quite a few exposition info dumps in this film without actually much explanation. Like they went, mother boxes, they can do these bad things.
The anti-life equation does this. How?
Same thing with the mother box. It was going, they do bad things, you know, and it's like, but what actually is it? It's like
they're like witchcraft because they're so advanced.
Like, but what is it? Look at it glowing. Yeah, but what is it? What is it doing?
Like a box.
Why is it glowing?
Square.
But anyway, but it is like, but with that whole thing about it, the tease setting it up to then go, oh, Darkseid's coming in proper for the next film, you could still very much do that.
Yes, and I think they probably should. Maybe I think if they do, not they probably should. I think if they do,
and also like the fact that Ben Affleck isn't Batman anymore. Like he's kind of been nudged out.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill. How do you say it? Henry Cavill? I always say Cavill, but I don't think that's right. Henry Cavill has been also nudged out. It's kind of like, why are you saying either of them are canon? Because clearly neither of them are anymore. Because you're basically going, we only really care about Wonder Woman and Aquaman at this point. Oh, and Flash is getting his own film, but that's very much its own thing. So there's no need to say either of them are canon.
They should
not.
Or if like we've discussed this before, like outside of the podcast, which we've just started, is to continue DC, just kind of stop thinking about the DCEU. Just give up on that and just go, like I believe personally, multiverse. Just do individual stories, and then maybe if you want to have a crossover between two of them, do that maybe. But just do multiverse, because that's what DC does best. It's what the comics do best.
Just do films.
Yeah, just like Joker.
That Joker is their strongest film since probably The Dark Knight. Like and that's just them going, here's the thing. So go, okay, let's have that thing.
No,
that's sure.
Like as soon as they release Control and just say make a film, the film is good and it says a lot. But I do believe multiverse is just where it should go. So they didn't need to say one of these is canon, the other one isn't, because they're both canon to themselves. Just let them be. But no,
as a whole, it flows a lot better. Like
yes,
as I'll say, even though they don't explain some things, like here's a mother box, what is it? There's so many scenes that could have been cut, but so many scenes that were like, yep, we needed this. Yes. Where was this last time? For example, this was, as we started to get into specifics, one thing I was saying to you yesterday, he was going, oh, I actually understand what Steppenwolf wants now. Whereas in the first one, I remember, I've never rewatched Justice League ever.
Me neither. Because I would rather jump out of the second floor window than watch Justice League.
I bought it on DVD and was
it's on Amazon Prime.
Well, I got it on DVD before Amazon Prime. That was a frustrating thing. And I was like, I'm going to rewatch this film, give it a second chance, or just see the flaws. Because I give it a second chance, or some of the things that I enjoyed, see if I still enjoy them now. Never got around to it, which is why it's quite impressive that I'm saying that the Snyder Cut I might watch again at some point, or at least just cherry pick scenes. But I quite liked that bit. What was my original point? Oh, but all I remember, like vague things I remember, I never knew what Steppenwolf was really doing. He was kind of this guy there who was going, there's this guy called Darkseid. I was going, oh, I know him. That's who Thanos was ripped off of. So, and then it was like, yeah, I know who he is. Where's he then? Why are you prattling about with boxers? Now, where are we now? We're in Atlantis now. What's going on?
I think in the original, he was just sent by Darkseid, and that was all the exposition we got. Like there was no motive for the character. That's what my brain has tried to make of whatever I was given.
Because I was watching this and I was going, oh, so he's trying to impress Darkseid, and because Darkseid lost the mother boxes, because now they got this to do, and I actually understood what was going on, and I was quite invested in it.
But no. So, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now that we've done the exposition.
Let's go into specifics now.
Yes. First thing I'm going to say
didn't enjoy
is I think the music is much better than Justice League.
Oh, that's an interesting place to start. Yeah, it was something I said to you because when I was watching the opening titles, I was going, I don't know that name. Who is that? Like, as you told me, it's Junkie XL.
Yeah,
I did.
I like
I
how he's
wasn't
using
blown.
his like proper name now. Like he's being more professional. I
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
because even just like putting Junkie XL is kind of, it's not a great name, is it really?
Yeah.
So I mean, you were saying to me, oh yeah, listen out for the music, listen out for the music. It wasn't something that really blew me away. I liked the bit you said, you go, wait till Batman steps down off this thing. That bit where he gets off the train and it is the kind of metal
it goes
noise.
wah. It's proper. I've literally written here wow wow wow.
Wow. I did love that. Besides from that, though, I wasn't. Because my big thing about the music, as we've mentioned twice on here already, is stop wailing every time Wonder Woman appears. Why? She just opens the door and you just say, ah! It's like, what are you doing?
In this, I think every character got a motif of the music for themselves, but the problem is Wonder Woman's was and that overshadowed the music every time. So I do believe the music fundamentally is way better than the other version, Justice League,
I mean, at
because
least it's appropriate. Like, rather than
one,
going,
it's appropriate, and I
yeah,
feel like it's it's badass, and I feel like what DCEU this tries to be is badass, you know, and I think it does work. I really did like it. And when I first watched it, like the first time, I had headphones on. So for me, the music was much more prominent than through TV speakers. So I really did enjoy it. But whenever that happens and Wonder Woman shows up, it's overshadowed because you just, instead of getting her badass now,
I
instead of
just
getting
think,
that,
shut up. That was the frustrating thing as well, because I really love Wonder Woman's theme,
mm,
and it's actually probably we've had this conversation before about how Marvel doesn't really give people themes, whereas DC is very much themes. Damn
yes,
it! And Wonder Woman's theme is probably like one of the best superhero themes we've had in years. Whether or not I'm not particularly fussed on those films with Wonder Woman, but her theme is amazing.
very good.
So, but the frustrating thing is whenever she appears in a scene, you get the and you think, oh, shut up, and then it goes into and you
Oh,
go,
thank God.
yeah, and you like go,
It's less,
yes.
yeah,
Like,
it's
can we
less of a
just go
yes and
straight?
more of a, oh, phew,
It's just like,
that's over.
can we get to
Mm.
that one first? How about
Because
open the door and go and I will be with you. But instead,
it's because the problem, it's so jarring though. It's nothing compared to the other themes that the other characters get. Like Batman's is proper wah wah, and then it goes like it's proper low and bassy. Wonder Woman's is quite high riffy kind of thing with the guitar version, and they complement each other. They really do. They can flow. But if you have Batman's theme and then you have and then Wonder Woman's, you've completely ruined the flow there. So the music for me, I believe, is much better than the original.
I agree,
But
but
that wailing, it's like someone's got this road, this beautiful smooth pavement here, and they've gone, let's take out the middle bit. And so everything else is there, but you fall over halfway through.
yeah,
It's almost perfect. And another kind of overarching point, I did mention this previously. I prefer the color grade to the original. It's darker. It makes it feel like it is a continuation of Batman,
yeah, I
Man of
agree.
Steel, Batman vs Superman. It feels like a trilogy, and the color grade is just better for me rather than trying to brighten everything and make it really light.
But there were a lot of things, right? They were just like scenes that were really needed. Like, I mean, I think a good way to do this might be to focus on individual characters, but to say like one character that was not in, basically wasn't in Justice League was Cyborg. Now, I didn't click with Cyborg as much as I'd have liked to,
I did, but
but I felt that if there was anybody that was like the heart of the film, it was Cyborg. Like most things came back to him. He was very much kind of like the reclusive one who then joined the team. He knew about the mother box. He had the power of the mother box. All these kind of things. I thought Cyborg was very much kind of him and Batman together were kind of like we're the real driving
yes,
spirit of this film,
that's the very
and
interesting thing you said,
I really liked that.
because I remember Zack Snyder saying before he'd done the Snyder Cut, saying that Cyborg, or like in that kind of break in between, saying that Cyborg was the heart of the movie.
Did he actually say
Yeah,
that?
I'm almost certain he's mentioned something like that, and it's kind of like in Justice League, I was like, I don't see how this. I see how he was kind of shafted, but I don't see how he's the catalyst, like the main factor. And then you see this version, you're like, my God, is he? Everything revolves around that character, and that's very much like the comics as well. Like Cyborg and the Mother Boxes go hand in hand, and you can't really have a story of one without the other. So it's nice, and I like although Cyborg didn't click with you, that he really did click for me, especially early on. I'd say maybe he kind of gets over everything a bit too quickly, but he did click with me, especially. Do you know the moment where he is watching the single mother?
Yeah.
And the fact she hasn't got much money, she's a good person, she's giving to charity, giving to homeless, but she doesn't have much money. And then he gives her $100,000. That moment for me is beautiful, I think, and it makes me cry. Like the first time I saw it makes me cry. The second time it made me cry again. But just seeing how it's just a nice way of showing a superhero, Cyborg, instead of just showing a feat of strength or anything. He sees this person who just needs help, and he uses his powers to help her out. And he doesn't do it for her gratification. He does it because she deserves it. And that
I agree with you. I think just as a character, for me to relate to it, it felt like he got over his issues quite quickly.
I will agree. And also his issues were superpowers. It's like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but it was kind of like probably his major one was very much he had this really bad relationship with his dad, but then kind of like a couple of scenes later he was like, dad, and I was kind of like, is that the end of that one?
Well, I think with that it was the idea that there is an issue there, but then I think the moment he changes from being purely abrasive to his father to a bit open is the moment his father's taken by the parademons. And I think for anyone, if your father, who you've been kind of arguing with, but you used to really kind of be close with, suddenly gets taken by a demon to be murdered, I think your emotion to them might change a little bit. But okay, let's do characters, shall we? Let's start with the main man himself, Batman.
Right. As I was saying earlier, I really enjoyed this Batman, and Batman, I think, really is one of the few characters in this film to really have proper goals and actually understand what he wants. Mm-hmm. Whereas, a lot of the others kind of just feel like they're tagging along. But Batman is the one putting together the team. He's the one he wants to kind of redeem himself for what happened to Superman. He kind of wants to, get over that. He said he wants to avoid this big threat. So I did very much enjoy Batman. I don't think I really have anything negative. Well, I have one negative thing to say about Batman, but besides that, I don't really think I do. What did you think, Batman man?
Oh, I really do love how Ben Affleck just looks like ripped straight from the comics Batman. I love his suit. I love how
That's why I love him so much.
Most Batmans I look at, I'm like, you're quite scary. But when I look at Ben Affleck's, I'm like, you could crush me. Please don't. Like, he's proper. He's got that intimidation factor.
I thought that as well. Do you know? Oh, what did you think about the Batman F-bomb? Because that's I know that's been quite controversial. But
what did he? Okay, I remember. What did he say about?
It's in the nightmare sequence when he says to like Joker, he says like, "I will effing destroy you" or something like that. When he said that in that scene, that was kind of a moment when I thought, okay, the thing that lets this Batman down for me and stops him from being my firm number one is the fact he kills. But in that moment, it's kind of like, I guess this is just an interpretation of Batman where it's what if he did kill?
Yes.
And it's kind of like, it's not the Batman I like, but if that's just the premise you're going for, then my God, I do not want to mess with this guy.
like him swearing there, I'm completely fine with, and I think that works. And it worked. I'm fine with it. End of. But Batman, his version of Batman, I love the cinema. I love the way he looks, and I love the way he acts, and I feel like everything there to be one of my favorite Batmans, and he is one of my favorites as like an idea, is there. Everything's there. But the fact he kills, it takes away so much of the character.
Batman. And the fact that he literally wrote a Batman film and it was supposed to be made, and it was going to be this film written and directed by Ben Affleck, starring Ben Affleck, set almost entirely in Arkham with potentially Johnny Depp as the Joker. My God, can I go to the multiverse when that film was released?
I would have given my left leg for that, because
literally
some of my favorite Batman stories are Batman in Arkham Asylum. Just trapped. It's scary. It's that kind of thing. One of my favorite games is called Batman Arkham Asylum, and it is literally that premise. But I would have loved to see Ben Affleck's Batman as the way he would have envisioned it. So maybe we wouldn't have got the dumbness, which was Zack Snyder thinking Batman should kill, which he, in an interview, he said Michael Keaton's Batman doesn't kill, but the Dark Knight Returns comic Batman does kill. That's fundamentally the wrong way.
The other way around.
Yes. So it's like, it would have been nice to see Ben Affleck's Batman interpreted by maybe someone who would have got it right, Ben Affleck.
And also, imagine, this has just come to me now in this film that I really wish, my God, we'd had. Imagine the Daredevil corridor fight scene, but with Batman in a ward at Arkham with just piles of criminals just piling on him. I would literally sacrifice you to see that.
I mean, if there's an afterlife, I'd risk it. I'm just saying.
I'd just be like, that. I'm selling my possessions. I want that scene. The only thing about Batman I can say I don't like, and it's not really a fault of. I actually spotted another fault here. Was what was the point of the bat tank? You know, in the end sequence, you just see one shot of the bat tank. Didn't really get the point of that.
The epilogue itself, it's like
the epilogue was basically just Zack Snyder going, "Here's some other ideas that I might have done in a future film, but they're not going to happen, so just have them here."
Yeah. Well, okay, fine. What did I write in my notes about the epilogue? I do like the epilogue, but it feels like a lot of what could have been, but no payoff. It's like, thanks for showing me all this stuff. What's the point?
Yeah, but the one thing I can say that I didn't like about Batman, and it's not necessarily just the fault of Batman, it's just the plot. I don't like how flippant he is with his secret identity.
I agree with. When I first watched it, I was like, I didn't notice it. But then when he first meets Aquaman, he's walking around outside and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Batman," and I'm like, hold on.
Well, it's like it's. I was saying this to you yesterday. There are two characters that I believe in comic books, everything comic books, their number one one of their number one core goals should be that nobody must know who I am, and they are Batman and Spider-Man. And the things that have annoyed me recently, I liked Far From Home, and the ending was, quite a nice big shock, but it fundamentally irritated me because I like Spider-Man being nobody knows who Spider-Man is now in those films. Everybody's gonna know Spider-Man. Same here. Batman basically introduces himself to everybody in this. He goes, "I'm Batman. Hi." All of these scenes could have happened with Batman meeting that character. Maybe Bruce Wayne meeting Arthur Curry is the one where it has to be Bruce Wayne, because I just love. I said this to you yesterday. I love heroes in the wilderness where they've got a beard and they've got a big hood on. I love that. And anything where they do that, I'm like, yes, give me that. I don't know what it is. I just love that. But then when he meets Flash, for example, put him in his costume. He could have been meeting Flash. Flash is running about.
There is no reason
Batman shows up.
Why Batman shouldn't have been there, because that scene where he first meets Flash is literally Batman. Batman does all of that stuff, sitting in a dark room. That's what Batman would do, not something Bruce Wayne would do.
No. How does he meet Wonder Woman? I can't.
He already knew Wonder Woman from Batman vs Superman.
Oh, okay, so that's okay then.
So they did meet in costume. Or actually,
okay, let's just say.
Well, actually, no, they didn't. They met at a costume. So again.
Okay. Well, either way, Batman is very flippant with just going around. I always say Batman. Bruce Wayne is always very flippant with going around just going, "Hi, I'm Batman." It's like, can we be a bit more secretive? And then that culminates again in the final scene, which really annoyed me. One of the final scenes in the epilogue was when Lex Luthor knows Batman's identity.
How does he know?
I really didn't like that. I really didn't like that.
I mean, how would he know and not Deathstroke? Like, out of the two, it'd be maybe Deathstroke to know because he's actually got a vendetta against Batman. But even then, neither of them should know.
The only, and I said this because then that was then followed by, that scene was then followed, and I actually wrote this, was Joker then knows it's Bruce Wayne.
I feel like Joker knowing
that I'm fine with, and with most things I've ever seen the Joker in, I've always assumed he knows who Batman is anyway. I've always assumed that.
Yes,
when Joker is saying like, "Oh, he would know loss," maybe like a father or a mother, I enjoyed that, But Lex Luthor, I'm going, no, that's the wrong villain. Wrong, maybe you say Superman is really Clark Kent. Then okay, sure, go for it, Lex Luthor. But you're messing around in the wrong comic here.
Exactly. Like, I'm 100% agree with you. And with Joker, it's kind of like he knows Batman's Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't care because he only cares about killing Batman. He doesn't care about who he is or all that. He uses that kind of stuff to get to him, but fundamentally, that's not the reason he is his antagonist. No, but ultimately, I do like Ben Affleck as Batman. But if he didn't kill, he'd be much higher on my list.
Yeah. So who do you want to do next? We've kind of done Cyborg already, haven't we? Really? So
yeah. Superman.
Oh, to be fair, just before just like one thing about Cyborg though, last thing I had to say was my favorite shot of the entire film, because I'm looking for that, because it's very much Zack Snyder's. He tries to paint every scene like a portrait kind of thing.
I do love the way this film fucking 4 hours long. I do love how it's shot. It is very.
But my favorite shot is of Cyborg when he's in the graveyard and he's digging that hole, and they kind of do this shot with like the low sunset in the background.
Yeah.
It's graves in the background. I looked at that, I was like, oh, I love that. And then they repeated it later on when he did the other thing. They did the same frame but with a different lighting. It was much brighter this time. I love this shot. But yes,
it is a gorgeous shot. One of my favorite shots though, or favorite scenes when it comes to how it's shot, was the football scene, the American football scene. Just something about the snow, and I just really enjoyed the composition. It was very, very nice. I really liked it. I love snow. I like snow. Put snow in a DC thing, and I'm gonna love it.
That's what I was saying about Batman in the hood, in the wilderness with snow. I'm like, yes. Anything that does that, I'm like, yes. I think Star Wars does it with quite a few things, and I'm going, yes. Stick him in a hood. Stick him in a hood in extreme weather, and I'm like, yes. Give me all of this.
Yes. Make him chilly. But right now, here we're gonna get to a.
I want to go to Wonder Woman next, because I can lead on to this, because I thought the chemistry between Wonder Woman and Batman was incredible, and I don't remember it being this strong in Justice League or BVS, but for some reason here it really felt like, besides that bit when they kind of both reach for the mouse at the same time, that felt a little bit Justice League, but I was like, just ignore that for a moment. But besides that, the kind of way that they kind of lightly bantering each other, but really both serious and very stern characters, but kind of being slightly. I thought they worked really well together, and I don't remember that chemistry being as strong in the other one.
I 100% agree with you. I do like when it comes to just chemistry, like the chemistry between Batman and Wonder Woman it's. I feel like it has to be there as well. Like, it's very well done, but I feel like it has to be there because otherwise there wouldn't be a plot, because it's about those two finding the characters. So they've done a very good job of making it seem real. And I just like the way they interact. It's very nice. I feel like they don't ever interact enough when they're in costume, though. Like, I've just realized this. They don't really have many moments together as Batman and Wonder Woman. It's very much kind of Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince.
No, I have a few things to say about the whole group dynamics, to be fair, so we can come on to that later.
But their chemistry is nice. I do like it. I also love the chemistry between Alfred and Batman, actually. Very, very much felt like I was just watching an episode of the animated series.
I said that to you about. I'm not fussed on Jeremy Irons as Alfred generally.
I quite like it.
I don't. Sorry, I've never been fussed on. I've never been fussed on the Alfred being the man in the chair kind of thing. Like, I know a lot of Alfreds do that, but for me, he's always kind of just been the butler that helps out and trying to. I like Alfred as the character who kind of basically the entire point of Batman could have been avoided if Alfred just gave him therapy, but instead he went, no, here's a bat suit. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I'm really going to encourage you through this violent lifestyle. I like that kind of side of Alfred, but still being like this butler who thinks he's done the right thing. When he's in the man in the chair, I'm a bit more like, you've lost me a bit here. So I don't really like that side of Alfred, and I'm sure I'm sure I had another note here.
I do note with that.
The scene I really did like about Alfred, though, this is as I was trying to find my note, is when he's talking to Batman about saying, why are you doing this if you don't think you can handle it? And I think he says, like, why would you charge the bull why would you wave the flag if you can't charge the bull or something? I really like that scene.
Why would you wave the flag? No, why would you wave the the red cape at the charging ball if you can't bring down the ball or whatever.
That's it. That's the one.
Not why would you charge the cape if you can't bring the ball?
Yeah,
up?
I wrote.
If you can't take the ball to school, why would you have a cape next door?
I wrote it in shorthand on my lap, so it kind of is ineligible.
Ball and capes, a bit of charging ball, love it.
So I like that, and I thought the chemistry was really strong, but I'm not fussed on his Alfred basically.
When it comes to that, I very much do like Alfred as a butler. That is nice, but I also really like because I think from the games I've played, very much Alfred is the man in the chair constantly, because otherwise it's just going to be Batman talking to himself. But eventually that does get taken over by Oracle, who is Batgirl, and I do like Alfred as the man in the chair initially, like during his early career, because it's very much like Alfred being like, okay, I'm going to go along with this, but then eventually he's like, what are you doing? So there's very much an abrasive nature there. So you get the butler idea, but he's not just going along with it because he's realizing maybe therapy was a good idea. But then you get Oracle, who is just Batgirl grown up, and then you get that. Then you get more of the man in the chair from that. But then you get Alfred being the butler. So I think that really can work. So I do kind of like this, but I feel it does feel like I agree with you. It's quite late in Batman's career for Alfred to still be 100%. Let's be killing people. It's a bit like.
Because I was also thinking Jeremy Irons can't be that much older than Ben Affleck either. Like Ben Affleck's got to be in his late 40s or 50s. Jeremy Irons has got to be late 60s, maybe.
He was 13 when he was looking after a young Bruce Wayne.
That's what I was thinking. I think he would have been a really young butler, and I suppose that could work, really. But I always associate Alfred to also being like kind of a contemporary of the Wayne parents as well.
Yes.
I'm gonna Google how old is.
I think. Well, if I think back to like different versions of Batman, if with Batman as this age, Alfred would be walking Kane kind of age at the very kind of.
Right. Well, Jeremy Irons is 72.
Oh, wow, it looks great for 72.
Yeah, it's gone back on my point now because it actually just turns out Jeremy Irons just looks really good for his age.
Yeah.
Whereas Ben Affleck is 48. So
well, what we've learned here is Jeremy Irons looks great for his age.
It's well done, Jeremy Irons. Yeah. But Alfred would have been 24 when Bruce Wayne was born. How old is he when his parents are killed? 10, maybe.
8-year-old.
8. He's 8. So he's what?
Like, I know that.
He's 32 then. I actually had to add that because my maths.
Well, with the Pennyworths, it runs in the family. Like his father was a butler, so he would have been a butler. So it's not like he decided at the age of 30, I'm gonna be a butler. He kind of had to be. So it works out. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, it only just occurred to me right now that I thought, well, maybe he's a bit too young, but as we've said, it's literally just well done, Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, you're eating well.
That'll be the name of the episode. Well done, Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
Right. No, Alfred wasn't a character we intended to talk about there. Who's the next one along? Should we do Aquaman or Flash?
You didn't really finish talking about Wonder
Woman. Oh yeah. Well, that's all I read. That's all I really had to say about
with Wonder Woman. I really do like Wonder Woman as a character, and we've said that her killing in this, it feels a bit kind of extreme.
But it's just it's accepted for Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I've always preferred a Wonder Woman who doesn't have a sword and a shield. She's just kind of the lasso and her fists, and it's kind of like
she was very. I mean, she was definitely. I'm gonna say as a statement, she was definitely the most badass character.
Oh yeah, apart from when the music went.
Yeah, well, besides that, but like even just I know it was early on in the film, and I can't really think of any moments much later. But when she has the scene in the bank and she's doing the stuff, love that. When she's got the guy with the lasso, love all of that. Love all of that. The bit later on where they're fighting Superman and she's the one who first clicks, oh my god, something's gone wrong, and she's kind of with it straight away. I loved that as well. I don't really remember much about the final battle.
Well, she chopped off Steppenwolf's head at the end, so she had that bit straight down, which was nice.
I thought Superman did that.
No, Superman can't chop his head off with his hands. They all paired up for that. Aquaman stabs him, lifts him up. Superman punches him.
Oh no, I was thinking of the bit where Superman burns his antenna off. I don't know what to call it. I thought you meant she chopped that bit off.
I was gonna say antler, and I'm like, that's
Horn,
also not right.
antler. I'm not sure what. It's not really a horn or an
Head.
antler, is it? It's just
It's just a part of his head.
extended piece of head.
Yeah, it's just part of his head. Poor guy. I was when he first did that. I thought, do you think part of his brain's in there? Like, is he just chopped
Well,
off
I
his
thought
motor functions?
when
What's
we
he done?
see him in the armor, and he's got like the really long, deep head, but it's just his face. So that bit, like, I thought that made me laugh. His head's that big, and I just assumed that was just helmet. And then when the suit is peeled back, I'm not really sure why it's peeled back.
Well, it can all fiddle away. There's literally a frame where you missed that, and you sent me a video saying, "Why is his helmet off?" And I'm like, "Yeah, idiot."
No, because I rewound and watched it where it was literally like he's there or got the helmet on, and then I think we cut to Darkseid. Then we cut back and Steppenwolf suddenly is naked, and I was like, why? I was like, why is he?
It's such a frame.
But I was like, why is he just seen Darkseid and gone, oh, I must take my clothes off?
Darkseid likes him nude. He likes his servants in the nude.
I didn't really get that, but when the suit P was back and I realized, oh no, that actually is his head. That's when I was like, oh, that's just gross.
It's kind of cool though, because it makes him more alien rather than just a terrible guy in a suit. Steppenwolf's design is so much better. We'll just say that now. But Wonder Woman, I do like her in this film, but I do prefer the Wonder Woman versions I've had in the animations and the comics. And I do think this wasn't.
Oh, and something I don't like about Wonder Woman's characterization in this film as well is she's just and it's the same for Wonder Woman 84. Even though I've not seen Wonder Woman 84, but from what I've heard of it, it's just her moping over Steve Trevor all the time, and it feels a bit like you are basically a goddess. Like you are the most powerful beings.
5,000 years old.
You're 5,000 years old. You are an amazing creature. Yet you met this bloke 70 years ago and you're like, Steve! And every 2 minutes you'll just be like, I knew a man who could fly this plane.
Oh, is that Gal Good?
And there's just so many options. Good. I knew a person that could do this. I knew a man, and it's like,
why
why
a
are
man
we
who could make beer like you?
It was.
I once knew a man who could put on shoes.
It was just like, why are we talking about Steve all the time?
I will say for Wonder Woman, I do prefer the Wonder Woman who's kind of a bit more hopeful and a bit more of a leader.
And we do get strong moments of that, and they're really cool when we get them. But then suddenly she is just, Steve took me to a restaurant once, and it's like, what are you talking about?
I once knew a man who had hair like yours. He could speak with words.
Yeah,
No,
I knew a man that could talk.
I think with DC in general at the moment, the comics are very much going in like Wonder Woman now has a sword and a shield, and it's just like, hey, I like her when she doesn't have the sword and the shield, because I liked her as the warrior who very much used the bracelets and was defensive and kind of a protector rather than a fighter. Like she could fight, but do you know what I mean? A protector rather than I'm gonna go stab someone.
That's just reminded me though. I think besides the bank scene, probably my other favorite Wonder Woman scene is where it's kind of like the Captain Marvel Thanos bit, but like where Superman headbutts her, you can tell Superman thinks that's going to work, and she kind of just goes whatever, and then headbutts him back, maybe slightly harder. And I really liked that bit, and I was going, yeah.
I like it when because it was nice seeing Wonder Woman. She is so powerful, but often she is overshadowed by Superman, especially in the fact she can't fly in these films, and that just really hurts.
Well, she kind of does at one point, but is it just a big jump?
Yeah,
because it's the bit when she throws the bomb out of the building. She kind of does fly up, but I don't remember her staying up. I think she just comes back down again.
We've never actually seen her hover. We've always seen her do a leap. We've never seen an actual I'm flying
in flight kind of thing. Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Doesn't she even get the invisible jet in Wonder Woman 84 as well?
I've heard mentions of it.
Proper Linda Hamilton style.
Wants to force myself to watch that, but
I don't, because
I've seen clips and I've heard what people say, and I can't bring myself to it. It would be torture. It's like a CIA torture treatment. Yeah, that's what it is.
And we're not going to watch it for this because Batman's not involved. So go sod yourself. Right, should we do Aquaman next?
Oh my god!
We're going to end on Superman.
Yes, Jason Momoa is so cool. I love him. I love him so much.
Yes, but I thought a lot. I don't know if I actually wrote anything about Aquaman really, but
I didn't either. But I just like
something that I thought about Aquaman was he's a bit miserable, and I get he goes off and has his whole film after this. There's a bit that makes me laugh as well, where he's supposed to be, he's, king of the ocean, this kind of thing. And I think he throws a bottle in the sea at one point. And I thought, not
he
very
takes off his
environmental.
shirt and then throws that in the sea.
Yeah, I was thinking,
a bottle.
Fish are going to choke on that or whatever.
Gets a beer can.
Yeah, there's something else about it. Oh, and a lot of it just felt like, do you know when like scenes when some people go, that's one for the dads, that kind of thing. There's quite a few scenes when it was just greased up Jason Momoa shirtless, and I thought, this is one for the mums, isn't it? And there's quite a few scenes where I thought, this is just very clearly, we've got Jason Momoa, let's take his clothes off.
Jason Momoa.
Momoa, I had a stroke mid-sentence.
No, but he is very much the cool dude. But I like it because Aquaman, I feel like with the way Aquaman is portrayed by people, it's very much cheesy. I can talk to fish, and that very much is what Aquaman was for a very long time in a lot of mediums. But then in like the Justice League animation, you did get long-haired Aquaman. He had a hook for his hand as well. It was proper cool. But I do think having Aquaman be this cool dude who's like, oh yeah, really long hair, bit grizzly. I feel like that was necessary.
Yeah, and I like it as like kind of a just a vindication on DC's part against fans who are like, oh, Aquaman, really? And they go, yeah, because this is Aquaman. And I love that, just the way they've just completely flipped his character.
I really do like the interpretation of Aquaman, because I don't know much, like loads about Aquaman, but I feel like this was still very much firmly the character, and I really enjoyed it. And he was very just cool, and I feel like he brought a very different dynamic to the team. Instead of being cheesy, he was very much like quite realistic for a guy who can talk to fish. It's my favorite moment of his. Do you know where he's surfing down the parademon and then he just lands and shakes his hair? I love that moment every time.
Yeah, but probably my most things I've saved, my Momoa things I have to say about him, my most things I have to say about him are probably in the team dynamic. But we'll do team dynamic after Superman, because I can connect them together. Believe me. So last one left is Flash.
Oh, savior of the universe. Da, da, da. Bum, 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 bum.
Took me a moment then, but yes.
Flash Gordon, classic.
So I was going, that's not the CW theme. That's what I was doing.
Well, it's very different.
Then it clicked with me. Well, speaking of CW, the Flash show, first 2 seasons of that are amazing. Like really spellbindingly good. Season 3, I remember thinking, what? Season 4, I got halfway through, and there was one moment in season 4 when there were 2 moments actually. There was the moment I'm going to talk about was when my brain went, I can't do this anymore. And it's a bit where Batman, when Flash is running up the street and somebody basically just puts Skittles out on the floor or something, and he trips up, and then the villain gets away, and Flash is like, oh! And it was.
I've heard people talk about this. The fact that Flash should never be able to, like, a villain should never be able to run away from the Flash. He is just in ludicrous speed. So it's like
there's so many chasers in that series, and I'm going, it's a motorbike. You're a speedster. Get him. But it was like
you could walk faster to him.
When he tripped up in that's when my brain went, I can't watch this show anymore. And in this, it's a random point to start on for Flash. When he trips up, I'm like, stop it.
I feel like he tripped up because I can kind of not excuse it. I can give you a reason.
But I know your reason. Yeah, go for it. And
the way we've seen, though, he's acted around Wonder Woman has been very much, ooh, I'm flustered because she's a goddess and she's 5,000 years old. Would she go for a younger man? He's interested in Wonder Woman. So in that moment, he gets distracted by her. He doesn't trip up because he's inexperienced. He trips up because he's distracted by her. That's why he trips up.
Right, because the combat I'd have said is the inexperienced thing.
Because he's not inexperienced. I can't say that is the case.
Yeah, because that was how I interpreted it. Like they've gone, oh, he's tripped up, but this is still Flash early on in his career. That's why his suit's a bit dodgy and whatever. But then by the end of it, he's like, yeah, I know how to time travel, guys. And it's like, what? You're clearly not inexperienced then.
Like it's only 10 seconds, but it's still like that's 10 years of Flashness.
But the way he says it as well is like, I know I can time travel. I've messed around with time before. It sounds as though.
But just before he does it, he says, right, this is the one rule, don't break it. You've like he's come close to it before and he's almost fucked it up, but it's like he doesn't want to do it again. So I don't think he's like casually time traveling.
Yeah, maybe, but probably because I'm too used to the CW one where they do very casually time travel in that. But yeah, because that was the thing that annoyed me about the inexperience. But also, if you're saying it's because he's going, "Oh, Wonder Woman," and then trips up, I also despise that.
Oh, it's annoying. It's annoying both ways, and I don't like the fact he tripped up because it's like this is a really. Whenever Flash did Flash moments, I love them, but that is the only Flash moment where I'm like, you've flubbed it up there. And at least he didn't fall on top of Wonder Woman, which happened in the Joss Whedon version.
Thank God that
so
wasn't
thank
it.
God that didn't happen.
But also, I mean, Flash is a really one because I really love Flash as a character.
When it comes to the Flash, I've got a softer spot for Wally West than I do for Barry Allen.
Barry Allen. Oh, that's quite interesting. I do really like Barry Allen as a character. Some of it does come genuinely from the CW show because, like I said, the first 2 seasons of that were amazing. But I loved the Flash before that anyway. I only have 2 DC T-shirts, right? One is the Dark Knight. It's got the masks from the heist at the start, and the other DC T-shirt I own is a red one with a Flash on it. They're the only 2 I own. I love the Flash as a character. I do genuinely prefer Grant Gustin just because there's more development there, and it's a bit more like the proper Flash working in the crime lab and all that kind of thing. Like, it's unclear how this Flash got his powers because he only gets the job at the crime lab at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like, but didn't you get your powers from that? How?
Yeah.
Whatever. So
well, yeah,
so
I feel like we're
scenes
going to explore all of that though. But I agree with you. It is kind of like we're before the Flash being the Flash here. You're a bit early.
But it's also like, but how did he become the Flash then?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So there are scenes with the Flash where I'm like going, like when he's being quite cheeky and that kind of thing. I do like that kind of thing when he's like saying, like, and there's, I was saying the joke that really made me laugh. I know it's Batman's joke technically, but when Flash is like saying, "What's your superpower again?" and he goes, "I'm rich." That moment and that kind of banter that those two have, I really liked. And there's a few lines like that, like when he says, doesn't he later on go, "Hi, Barry, I'm Diana," or something like that.
Yeah.
I find that really funny.
I feel like in the Justice League, it was very much he was toilet humor, comic relief. Whereas in this, he was very much not comic relief, but he was the light-hearted section of the team.
And also kind of just nervous and just making jokes just to be nervous. I thought his humor in this was nice and I liked it. But because I love Flash, and because I love Flash as well, seeing Iris was nice. But then by about an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours after that scene happened, I remember thinking, why was that scene in this?
Yeah.
Because it's just them going, "Hey, look, Iris is here." And I do remember when the film originally came out and they said Iris would be in it, and they went, "Oh no, we've cut Iris out." I remember being quite annoyed. But then having seen the Iris scene, I'm a bit like, well, what's the point? Because unless you're gonna come back and this is the love interest, but then now you're telling me he's also like going, Wonder Woman. It's like, but your love of your life, you've already met now. But
it's obviously just a scene to introduce Barry Allen as the Flash, but it is kind of like for the plot and for the story, it's not necessary. Like with a lot of these scenes we've said and we're gonna say, it's kind of like nice to see this scene, but it doesn't add to the plot. And it is kind of like, it is very much Zack Snyder going, I have all of this footage, I'm going to give you everything. And fair enough, because you're never going to do anything else for DC again. But it's kind of like,
that's why there are things where I think it's the difference between where I'm seeing scenes like the by the sea. I'm going to just cut that. I don't need it. There are other scenes where I think usually if this was a normal film, I'd be going, cut that. We don't need it. It's not added to the plot. But I do quite like just seeing it just because this is Zack. This is when it goes from being Justice League to Zack Snyder's Justice League. And so I can excuse it for that reason and for being the 4-hour epic that it is. But I'm also like, what's the point?
Basically. No, the Flash, he's fine, but he's got some good moments. Especially right for me, I love the Flash. I love that bit where the debris is falling and you see him in real time rather than just slow motion as we've seen previously. It was nice seeing him actually do it. And it was like, that's the Flash. And then the traveling through time moment, that I love seeing that every time because it's the Flash traveling through time. I love it. Come on. And I feel like, why not make this one canon? Because we're then having the Flash travel through time in the next film, and it's like, this would make more sense, this being previously.
Yeah.
So that would work. And I like the Flash has great moments, and I really like him in this. And he's fine. I can't really say much more about him. But
I mean, it's really like, my three highlights of the Justice League here. My three favorites were probably Batman, Wonder Woman, and Flash.
I would probably put Cyborg above the Flash. I think I prefer Aquaman and Cyborg to Flash. I think Flash is the
yeah, but I think really it's just because I love the Flash.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So
if it were Wally West, I'd be 100%. The Flash is my favorite.
Yeah,
because
I
have a soft spot for him.
Yeah. So that's the last one then is Superman. So I'm gonna let you start because you love Superman and I don't.
that like yesterday when you sent me the video, like, of you just your final thoughts, and you said Superman, I hate this, and I was sitting there genuinely hurt. I was so annoyed. I was like, you mother. I was so angry.
Well, I think the video the video I sent you is the bit, I can't think what the line is, but when Steppenwolf brings that's it. They brings the axe down onto his shoulder, and he looks and he goes, "Not impressed." That's the video I sent you. Was, I think the caption was, "I effing hate Superman."
I know,
because it's just so cheesy.
I love the cheesiness. That's Superman. He's cheesy. He's the Boy Scout, right? Okay. When I used to hate Superman. I did, because I used to be like, Batman's way better than Superman. Superman's just cheesy. I used to be like that, and now over the years, I've really seen why Superman is who he is, because it was summed up in a comic for me when Batman says Superman is the most human being. It's something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but it's the point that Superman doesn't believe he's an alien trying to fit in or anything like that. He knows he is, but he believes that he's just another human being who's just got a stake in this world as much as anyone else. He's a friend with everyone, and he's just a human being. And I find that wonderful, that he doesn't believe himself to be higher up than anyone else. He doesn't believe himself to be a god. He is just man, and I find that wonderful, that he still just fights alongside a guy who dresses in a bat costume because he's a bit depressed. I love that. But I really do like Superman, and his cheesiness is nice because he's just a good guy, and he's just 100% good. And I really like that.
The thing about the cheesiness is, though, is like, I love the Christopher Reeve Superman films. And you could say to me, yeah, but they're as cheesy as you can get. And I could say, yeah, but that's the entire point of the film, to be cheesy. Like, Adam West is cheesy, but it's because it's supposed to be cheesy.
Yeah.
Whereas then you've got Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is all very dark and miserable, and you've got Metal Batman, and then suddenly it kind of feels like the Superman just shows up, and even though he's wearing black, it's still like, it's Superman, guys, and it's like, oh, for God's sake. But I mean, really, like Superman in it, kind of, I didn't really have any strong opinions on him so much.
Okay, one thing I will say just quickly.
I'll let you take this bit here.
I've seen Man of Steel and I've seen Batman vs Superman, and then I watched Justice League. When it first came out, I watched them like back to back. I really do like Man of Steel, and I think Henry Cavill is a wonderful Superman. I really do. I love him as Superman. I think he's got that whole demeanor about him. And I think for me, seeing Superman come back in Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, like being resurrected, and you have those quotes from his fathers, Jor-El, like Russell Crowe, and then Kevin Costner, having those quotes, those lines, having that moment, and then seeing him have his second flight, which is a parallel to his first flight. I loved seeing all that, and it was wonderful with the music from Man of Steel. So for me, it was very much seeing him again as Superman. It was really nice. But I do understand why but I do feel like, if I think of it like critically as just a film in itself, him coming back does kind of undermine the other heroes coming together in a sense.
That was my point, because as Superman, what he's doing, the not impressed thing annoyed me, but it's more the stuff. Superman's kind of just there in this film. Like he's more of a plot device than a character, I thought. And the thing about him being a plot device in it is that I thought it ruined the group dynamic slightly, because it was kind of like the idea that, like, it starts with the scene that I hated when I sent you as well, is when they go, guys, we know what we need, and then Cyborg just does a little mini projection of Superman flying in the air, and I thought, oh my god, I can smell the cheese.
The music gives me a nice feeling when I watch that, but when I watch it, a part of me is thinking, what is happening? Exactly.
Yeah, but it's like it was the idea that this is this band of heroes. Bear in mind, you've still got Batman and Wonder Woman on your team, by the way.
Batman and Woman.
Batman and Woman on your team, by the way. But it was kind of like the idea that they were going, yeah, but we can't really do anything unless Superman's here, can we? And I remember I was looking at it going like, you're the Justice League.
I know.
Of course you can.
I feel like I can understand them wanting to bring back Superman. It's like, okay, if we can bring it, like Flash sums it perfectly saying, well, why not? What have we got to lose? The whole world, obviously. But it's like, I can understand them. They're thinking, we've got a chance of bringing back the most powerful being ever. Why not do it? But it is very much kind of like, you guys kind of held your own against Steppenwolf the first time. Like, it's not like you got your asses handed to you. You only lost because of water coming. And then you're suddenly going to this option. I feel like for this plot to work better for Superman, I feel like maybe they should have done it in the sense of a different team. What I would have preferred, or just, I know this being another character, but why not bring Amanda Waller in and have her be running something like Project Cadmus from, I know that isn't exactly the right translation, but something like that, where they're trying to resurrect Superman. Maybe. Where it's the government thinking.
And then like the Justice League decide to utilize that, or that goes wrong,
yes,
and we still get the evil Superman, but then the Justice League are going, actually, we could use him on our side, and then they have to fix him and make him. I agree, that would be a much
like
better.
It's like the reason it goes wrong is because it's the government bringing them back, and it would make sense for the government to bring back Superman because they've done this before by trying to clone Supergirl with Power Girl. It's the idea of they see the Justice League as weak and they're like, we want to control this. We want to control Superman. I think it works a lot better than Batman and the Justice League going, we can't handle this. When they kind of can, they've just got to put a bit more effort.
Because like, do they know Darkseid exists at that point? I can't think where it comes in the film. You watched it more recently. Well, a couple of hours ago. You've seen it twice. That's what I mean. I don't think they knew Darkseid existed at that point, did they?
No.
So for as far as they're concerned, all they've got to deal with is Steppenwolf.
Yeah, Steppenwolf.
And I don't see any reason why that Justice League, which had Wonder Woman on it,
who is basically like a teeny weeny bit less strong than, like, strength-wise, pure strength, as you can see, than Superman. Like, they are very much very strong. But I feel like but in this version, she's powered down. Like, she can't fly. She is very much weaker, I think, when it comes to her power set.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to, I love Superman and I really enjoyed seeing him again. But for the story, I do agree with you. It's like he's a plot point rather than a character.
And it's also something I was saying as well about something that, strangely, I prefer in Justice League to this, is the moment where he does go bad and is going crazy and shooting and killing everybody. Not quite. But it's the bit where in Justice League, Lois Lane shows up because Batman put her there as a backup plan, because he knew that, he had this idea that, okay, something might go wrong here, but the one thing that is probably going to calm him down is seeing Lois Lane. Yeah. I love that idea. However, in this version, she just happens to be there because she likes giving cops coffee in slow motion.
It's I don't want to say anything is better in Justice League, but I do believe that's better because because in that scene, Wonder Woman and like the entire team apart from Batman are fighting Superman, and then Batman just shows up to get threatened and get beaten up. Whereas in Justice League, he was doing something. He was getting Lois Lane, and Batman was showing off that he's not just a guy with fists. He's got a bit of intelligence. He realized that the key is Lois Lane. It wasn't very well done in Justice League, mind you, because it's literally, it felt like I don't like the way it was done, but I do think it could have been done in a better way in this version, and you could have shaved off a lot of scenes of Lois Lane drinking coffee.
Yeah, or just put them in normal speed so she isn't
Aiden, you've got to make
slow.
I think someone did the maths. If you shave off all the slow motion in this film, it shaves off like 40 minutes.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like another, I've just spotted this in my notes just while we're on Lois Lane, really. The bit where there's the really nice, heartfelt moment between her and Martha, and they're talking about losing Clark and having these really nice moments. I really enjoyed that scene. And then she steps outside, and it was Martian Manhunter. Why?
I love Martian Manhunter, and I like that character to be Martian Manhunter, the general. But
not
it
Martha.
completely ruins the scene, because the scene is all about a connection between Martha and Lois Lane finding her drive again. But it's undermined by Martha not actually caring about Lois Lane, apparently.
Yeah.
It's dumb, and I disagree with that happening. But it felt, yeah.
Like, especially because then Martian Manhunter shows up in that scene at the end.
Yeah. Which should have just, like, if you
Which should
shave
have
off
been the
Martian
only
Manhunter,
Martian
yeah,
Manhunter scene.
that would have been perfect. That would have been fine. But yeah, what can you do? Zack Snyder shot the scene.
I think one final character to just mention really is, I mean, Darkseid, because he's the big addition to this. And I think, I mean, he looks amazing. It was really nice. It was great having him here because the things made more sense. Having Desard, however you want to say it, as well, also a really welcome addition because it was kind of like he was basically explaining the things that weren't explained in the film before. And the bit when Desard morphs into Darkseid was also, I was like, oh yes, give me all of that. Things I don't understand about Darkseid though, we've got the anti-life equation thing is just kind of this thing that happened. Also, the amazing battle when he is defeated, incredible. Love that scene with all the lanterns and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that he forgot what planet beat him and he couldn't find it, I was a bit like, do you just fly around and go, that's a planet, that'll do, rather than having specific locations? That kind of bothered me.
That whole moment, it wasn't actually called Darkseid back then. I forget the name, but that was before he became Darkseid and took the throne. So he was just basically what Steppenwolf was. So I don't think he would know what planet it was, probably, because I don't think he would.
Okay, I can forgive that then if that's a valid explanation.
I mean, that is that because he doesn't have the armor and he isn't Darkseid because he's not using the Omega beams. He fundamentally is not the character Darkseid at that point.
Oh, okay, that's a bit better then. But and also, but then like, okay, that you've explained that for me. But also like the bit later on, I'm just checking it. Yeah, here is in the final battle, which I didn't think seemed that much different from Justice League.
I don't think it was. I just think it
couldn't see many differences.
It was more brutal, like with the way they attacked. The initial setup is very similar, but then when it's like fixing the mother boxes and Superman just beating the ever-loving Christ out of Steppenwolf and burning it, like it was more brutal and it felt like more visceral.
Amped up, but I kind of lost a bit of interest in this scene.
It was very similar
because I was like, I feel like I've seen this before. Yeah. But the bit I didn't understand was when they opened up the portal and Darkseid is just stood there watching Steppenwolf die.
Well, he didn't like Steppenwolf, so it's kind of like he's fine.
Yeah, but I was kind of a bit like, but you've got 3 mother boxes right there, right, and
like a million parademons behind you. Just step through.
All you need to do is just go, right, our turn, attack. Let's run for another 4 hours. Do you know what I mean? It was like, why are you just stood there? I didn't get that, but generally I enjoyed Darkseid. I did think generally. I'm just taking this because
I'm agreeing with all of this. So
yeah, and I'm also, it's like I know we're running out of time, so I need to get through my final. I need to get through my notes. But just while we're on the final battle as well, I did feel like there was a kind of a lack of stakes in that point because they're saying these are mother boxes, they're going to destroy the Earth, but it kind of just feels like something like while I connect this with Doctor Who, for example. Whenever they do minisodes or little fun spin-off things, it's always like this thing will cause a tear in all time and space and the universe will collapse. And it never feels very serious because it's just, the universe will collapse. And whenever anybody just goes, this will destroy the world, I'm like, will it though? Because we never actually really see proper effects of it. We see what might happen in the nightmare kind of thing, but that's seems to be more to do with Superman. But when it's just this contained area in Russia somewhere, we never really see in a big film like this, I want to see a city leveled. I want to see what things can happen, and especially now as I've gone, Superman's here, so it'll all be all right. In fact, you've done that, and we don't really see the effects of the box, and Darkseid's just stood there. I was kind of like, I'm not really feeling any danger right now.
There could have been more stakes. I agree with you there by having it happen, maybe in a city or something like that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. There could have been more stakes, but I still enjoyed watching it, and I felt like up until the point where Superman actually did return, like come back, and he's like, "Sup, I'm gonna beat up this guy." I feel like there were some stakes, and they did lose for a second. They all lost, and the Flash did some time travel. So I still enjoyed it. So I get what you're saying.
But also that bit where
Fine
the Flashman does that time travel as well, though.
Mm-hmm.
They need him to run in and save something.
Yeah.
And they go, Flash, or Barry, whatever they're shouting at him. Come join us. And he's like, going, oh, I'm injured. But then but then literally when it all goes wrong, he suddenly goes, oh, I should probably run now. And then runs, does the time travel kind of thing. And I thought, why didn't you just do that when they're all shouting at you?
I think that's the speed. He's like, I'm in pain here. I can't focus on the speed force. And then when he sees everything die, like, because he processes time differently, he can go like, speed force. And then it's like, when he traveled back in time, wouldn't you think he'd heal as well? Because that's healing. So he's not healing.
But he has to run to travel in time, doesn't he? So he's either running in one direction to change time or running in the other direction to go to where they're asking him to go. And it's been like, why didn't you just go there in the first place?
It was cool. I don't know. I don't know. It was just cool.
That's the only thing. Okay. The final battle kind of really was the point where I went, okay, this film's lost me now.
It didn't lose me there, but I feel like the final battle is very much just the final battle. Let's watch it, rather than anything incredible. But I will say my favorite action scene of this is a Batman moment, because of Night with the Dark Knight, more because I love Batman.
And to wrap up now.
Yes, just going to wrap it up with Batman, is his just entire assault on the fortress, where he's flying in, crashes, turns the lights off, parademons open the thing, lights come on, he drives out, shoots them. Listen, I don't like Batman killing, but thank
you can kill parademon. You can kill parademon.
No. But this is what I'm saying. Thank God Batman kills in this universe, because he has a tank with a machine gun and he's a weapon whore. I love it. But just seeing, it was his whole assault with the Batmobile, killing the parademons, spinning around. Yeah, you can kill parademons. I'll agree with you there. That's completely fine.
They're not people, are they?
No, well, they're not anymore. They don't have a soul. They're just reanimated corpses, basically. But seeing him just assault them with shooting everything, and it's such a cool moment. And then when he ejects out, and just compared to what we saw in Justice League, it was nice seeing Batman. Yeah. But then as soon as they were the final battle, Batman's just watching on the sidelines, which annoys me a lot. But that leading up, like in that final battle, what does he do? He jumps down. That's it.
I can picture Aquaman. I can picture Wonder Woman. I can picture everybody in that final battle. I don't have a mental image of
he's
Batman
outside
besides just sat in a chair kind of thing.
He genuinely doesn't do anything against Steppenwolf in the end, which annoys me, because it's like, I know he's got no superpowers, but be creative, writers. Come on. But in that leading up battle assault, I love it so much. It's amazing. And then when all the other heroes show up and they all get their little moments, that assault to the place, I really, really enjoy as an action scene. Everyone kind of gets a moment to shine, and it's nice, and I really enjoy it. And I love how Batman has to have a car to keep up with everyone else.
Yeah.
But other than that, like overall, okay, final verdict. I'm sure I've got other notes, but my word is things.
Yeah, I have. I think I have. I have about a page. I have about a page. Oh, my mic cut out there. I have about a page. I have about a page and a half still of notes, but they're minor, irrelevant things. They're just like minor scene things. I'm like going, really? Well, so they don't really mentioning. My final verdict would be: I'm glad I watched it.
Yes.
It was an improvement on the other one. I may watch it again, or at least just bits of it when I think that was kind of cool, or I'll at least just think of it fondly.
Just put it on in the background when you're doing work, maybe.
That kind of thing. Do I think it's amazing? No. Do I think it's the best DC film? No. Does it make me wish we'd got more of this universe? No. Besides Ben Affleck. Would out of 10, I'd probably give it about 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, maybe I agree with a lot of that.
Well, maybe 5, but
maybe we'll say 6. We'll take your first answer. I really do enjoy it, and I enjoyed it as much the second time as the first time, and I think that's a testament to whether or not I did enjoy it in the first place. Is it the strongest? Don't do that. I'm trying to think of it fondly, Aiden. But I think it's good. I like it. I don't think it's amazing. I think there were some like really nice moments that I really enjoyed, like that Batmobile sequence. I adore, and I think when it comes to Ben Affleck, you put him in an action sequence, and I'm gonna love it every time. I really think the action sequences for Ben Affleck are amazing, and that makes me really sad that we don't get to see him as Batman, like properly just as Batman ever again. That's really sad. But I'm glad we got to see it. I'm really glad we got to see it for Zack Snyder and for just being able to see what he was able to create.
That's what I was about to say. I'm glad we got to see it, not as a fan, not as a DC fan. I'm glad we got to see it as a project from a creative. That's how I feel.
Exactly. And I think I enjoy watching it, but it's not amazing and it's not better than Joker. I do prefer Joker, and it's not the best DC film. It isn't. And would I rather sit down and watch this or Batman Under the Red Hood, the animated film? No, I'm gonna watch the animated film every time, hands down. But I really do enjoy watching this. And obviously there are some missteps, especially with some things. Batman's quite well done. He does murder people. Fix that next time, DC. And out of 10, I'd give it a 7. Nice, cool 7 for me. That's quite rounded, you know. But
yeah.
No. I love how this is taking an abrupt end. Just speed running and then.
Yeah. Well, that's Justice League. That's Justice League for you. So that's that one. What are we doing next week, George?
Oh, well. It's quite nice.
Relying on you. I have no idea what we're doing.
Well, next week we're doing Batman 1989.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Seems appropriate after we.
Yes. And I haven't seen it in ages, and I really want to watch it.
No, I've not seen it, and I reckon about 10 years I've not seen it.
Yeah, I can't. So we're watching Michael Keaton as Batman, and we'll have a couple of discussions on what's happening with current DC as well, which is very exciting.
Because
Michael Keaton's
he's back, baby.
Oh yes. But yeah, no. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Same bat time.
Same bat channel. Bye bye.